Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the studio tonight. Tonight I'm very excited. This is my first time back in 2 weeks after some issues that I've been having the past 2 weeks. None of them really bad, just issues that are preventing me from being here. Hello, Lori Louise Hubbard. Hello, Mr. Secret, or Mr. C. Tate. Great to see you guys here. Tonight, obviously, we are painting some chili peppers. I believe these are habaneros. I like spicy food. Habaneros about as hot as I want to go. I've got my drawing here. This is what paper this is. I believe this paper is Strathmore 500 series paper. This is a small block of it. I'm going to be using, these paints. I'm a little out of sorts. I just ran out here to the studio. I just had a little bit of dinner. The kids were running around. I was having fun with them. And just came out here. So I'm a little out of sorts. I don't have anything quite as ready as I had wanted to. These are my paints that I'm using. These are my M-gram paints. I've got my list of what they are somewhere. I don't know where they are. I'm going to remember what they are from memory. I guess the brushes that I have up here right now, I've got some Da Vinci sable brushes and a Dana squirrel mop brush that I'm going to be using here tonight. Let me turn on the paint cam over here. There it is. Okay, so I hope everybody's ready. I hope I'm ready. I feel like I'm going at 1,000 miles an hour tonight, but we're gonna give it a shot and see what we can do with this. I will just let you know that. Wait a minute, hold on. What way did I draw these? There we go. This is how they go. That matches our picture there. If I could just kind of get this in the frame somehow, I think that's not going to be too bad. I'm going to start with this guy in the back here. And I'm just going to pre-wet this a little bit. We're going to put some nice juicy colors on here. This is our red pepper, red habanero in the back there. As always, if you guys have any questions, just go ahead and throw them out there. I love answering questions. Questions are what make this really fun. The painting is always fun on its own, but the questions themselves make this a lot more interesting to do for me. I hope they do for you too. That's why I do the live streams. I'm just going to drop some red color onto here and fill this up. This is a bit of Pyrrole red, and if I've got this right, quinacridone rose would be my guess. Just trying to go around that stem. I got a pool of water down here. All right. There we go. And you know what I want to put in here? I want to warm this up. I know red is already a warm color, but I want to drop in a little bit of this yellow. This is actually azo orange. It's not yellow. It's a very yellowy orange. But I want to drop this in on this side for the reason that it's going to help to really color up this side of the pepper. so it's not all one color over there. Let me get a little bit of this alizarin crimson, a little bit of dark over here. And the other thing that it's going to do is it's going to help with my reflected light as it's coming off of this yellow pepper, coming off of this yellow pepper in the foreground. Let's see, I'm going to put a little bit more of this down here. This is just straight azo orange. There we go, and a bit more of this pyrrole red. Up here, it's pretty red. I'm gonna help myself out a little bit, and I'm looking at my reference photo, and where I've got some darker colors, I'm just gonna go back over it. I know the colors are still gonna flow a bit together, and I'm totally fine with that. I just want to help with our shadowing later on by adding a little bit of an extra dark value in here early on. Oh, I don't know, something like that is probably going to be pretty good. I'm going to let that sit and have a little fun together. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to settle with that. I got one thing I need to do here before I do that. And I know I looked up and somebody has said something. I want to look at the chat in just a second. But before I lose my opportunity to do this, I've got a couple of highlights on here. I want to get my brush wet and see if I can't pull a couple of those out. So I'm using I said I got my brush wet. Really, I dried my brush off. And I'm running it through. I got my brush wet to get the color off of it. Then I dried it off. And now I just want to run it through the paint and lift some of this color back out. This brush, when it's dry, should really soak up any of this color. If it's still wet, if this paint is still wet, it'll all come right off. If it's not wet, the brush or the paint, it won't really come off of there, and we can either scrub it when we're done, or we can make all the other values darker and live with that. Okay, so that's my first coat on that red one. Let's see. Are these bell peppers? I thought chili peppers were long. So these are, I believe, habanero peppers. Habaneros are little short ones that are spicy hot. And I've got some like this that I was going to paint that are kind of long but kind of squatty. They've got this little, I don't know, ruffling or pleating in them. These are Trinidad scorpions. These are super hot, I know that. But not all chilies are the long chilies like Anaheims or jalapenos or anything. They come in all different shapes and sizes. I do know that. I love spicy hot foods. Look up Scotch bonnets, habaneros, etc. Right, exactly. Right. That's exactly what these are. Okay, so I'm going to move along here. So this pepper is still a little damp. If I touch it with the back of my hand here, it's cold. It's still a little bit damp. So this pepper touches this pepper. I'm not going to paint this pepper right now, but this pepper does not touch this pepper, so I can go ahead and paint that. Now I've got a couple of yellows on my palette, a couple of true yellows over here. This is... Oh, what is this? This is either bismuth or nickel azo orange, which is a very cold, or nickel azo yellow, which is a very cold yellow. This is Gamboge, which is a warm yellow, and this is azo orange, which is, well, it's supposed to be an orange, but it's very, it's a very yellow orange. And on this pepper, I'm going to use that Gamboge, and I guess since I've just jumped in, with it, I'm not going to pre-wet this one. Actually, it's a small enough space. I don't really need to pre-wet it. I think I can get away with just doing this. And as is the case when I try to paint around lines, my brain says, whoops, you need to stop talking. So a little bit of dead spot there. All right. Now, having put on this nice warm yellow, I'm looking at the picture. There's a little spot right up here that looks a little different to me. I'm just going to put on a little bit of this cold and leave it be, and we'll see what happens with that. And my edge here is dry enough. I can go ahead and put this on. If these two peppers touch, because they're both yellow peppers, it's going to be fine. I won't have to worry about, that's a azo orange. I won't have to worry about them running between the two, because we're going to I'll be painting them both similar colors anyways. All right, almost there. Trying to get this done quick. I feel like I'm going at 1,000 miles an hour. I don't know if it seems like that to anybody out there. You took Gamboge off your palette as its fugitive. This is, I should say, this is not Gamboge. This is new Gamboge from M. Graham. And while Gamboge itself is fugitive, most paint manufacturers have followed suit with you, and they have taken Gamboge out of their watercolor palettes, out of their set of paints, and replaced it with new Gamboge, which is almost the same color, has slightly different properties, but is not fugitive. But that is a great catch. Kiyomi, the original Gamboge, and I don't know of any any of the big manufacturers right now that have a Gamboge out there that is still fugitive. If I'm wrong about that, please let me know. I spent a little while last month or 2 months ago. Was not that long ago, but it was a little while ago anyways. On what's the name of the site? Handbrake, Hand Park. God, the name escapes me at the moment. But the person who did the website has exhaustive information about paints and their origins, where they've come from, paints and papers and brushes, basically anything you can think of, a whole bunch of stuff. But I think it's a gentleman who runs the website. I'm just gonna say it is, to make the pronouns a little bit easier. He has a section on paints, and he talked about the fugitive paints and about how many of them are fugitive, and that got me to looking them up. And I know that Winsor Newton has recently changed theirs. Daniel Smith has changed theirs, and I believe also, well, not I believe also, but I know that also M. Graham has changed theirs to make them more stable and less fugitive. All right, I'm looking over here as I'm doing this and talking, and just trying to, as we're doing this first layer, just trying to get some extra color on here. Of course, we're gonna come back and touch all of this again, but we're gonna get that on there. Handprints.com, that's it. Some of it is outdated. He hasn't updated in a while. That's true, but if you start there, it's a fantastic place to start, and then you can branch off and go and look up all of your own data if you want to do that. Okay, so now I'm going to get back to my first pepper here, and I'm going to be mixing this Pyrrole Red with alizarin crimson, and you can talk about my alizarin crimson also, but this alizarin crimson is not fugitive. It doesn't fade like the old alizarin crimsons used to. And I'm going to start putting a second layer on here. Yes, Daniel Smith, new Gamboge is not fugitive. Yes, and the Gamboge potentially was toxic. I actually need to do this. I have my glasses here. Here they are. I need to put these on all of a sudden so I can read. You can see some nice shapes. I can see some nice round blobs, roundish blobs here that I'm trying to paint. I look up to try and read something and I can't see it. There we go. Okay, so I've got just this nice pool of colors here that I'm dealing with. Ooh. There we go. And I'm just trying to take a little inspiration from this, like I said, to get my values right at this point. I'm not overly concerned if the color is exactly right. I'm not trying to, I've said this in my videos before. I don't try to duplicate any one thing. What I'm trying to do is take and draw on the essence of what I'm painting and give you that. Use it just as a reference and then give you my interpretation of that. Lots of paints are topics. Don't eat your paintings. Yes, I suppose that's good. Don't pick them up and lick them either. That might be bad. I want to keep my fans around. Don't lick or eat your paintings. All right, I can't believe I just fake licked a painting on on a video. That's so funny. I should say nobody's asked. I bought these brushes. Oh, this one the paints come off. This is the Da Vinci set of brushes. They are sable brushes. I've had these for 3 years now, 2 years. And I don't use them that much. I pull them out every now and again. If you really were to ask me, I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what prompted me to pull these out the other day. But I did pull them out while I painted a betta fish. If any of you follow me on Instagram, you have probably seen that betta fish. I put it out there. If you don't follow me on Instagram, shame on you. No. That's not. If you don't follow me on Instagram, you're certainly welcome to. I would appreciate the follow. If you don't, I understand. There's lots of people to follow, or maybe you just don't like Instagram. I understand that too. It does get to take over your life sometimes. All right, I got this pepper done. I think the next thing we're going to do on this red one is we've got some darker spots over here. We'll come and put those in. I'm going to leave these in as our highlights. Then, of course, the stem. Now, it's fairly dry here today, so everything is drying very quickly, but we're going to come over to our next yellow one here. I should also say I am cheating just a little bit in that since it's been 2 weeks that I've done a video, I'm a little apprehensive. I've kind of felt like I've gotten out of the swing. Maybe that's why I feel like I'm talking at 4,000 miles an hour. So I wanted to pick something just a little bit simpler. That was not expected. They are high in fiber. Oh, yes. Yes, my paintings are high in fiber. That's funny. So I'm a little out of practice, out of sorts. And so I chose something that I thought was just a little bit simpler here. Maybe that's a bit cheating. Maybe not. But I will say, last weekend I fully expected to be here painting, but I live in California, as many of you will know, and my family surprised me with tickets to the U.S. Open golf tournament and for Father's Day, and there was no way I was going to turn that down. So they won out, and unfortunately, you guys lost out on a video. I apologize, kind of, for that. I don't feel badly that I got to spend a great day or 2 days with my family, vacationing and watching the U.S. Open. There we go. This pepper is starting to look really nice here. I'm digging this. Don't drink it or drip your in your scotch. Oh, your paste. Oh, Kiyomi, you're killing me with pigment numbers here. I had my pigment card here, and I don't know where I placed it. It was here a second ago. I can tell you exactly what the pigment numbers are. On all my pigments, if you give me a shot here, give me a chance really quickly. I don't know where they are at. I'll tell you what I do have. I know, dead space in the. I do have this. Haha. How about this? Since I am using M. Graham paints, I happen to have this around. Where's my permanent alizarin crimson? PR264. I don't know, what else are we using? Pyrrole red. Where's Pyrrole red? PR254. Gamboge is over here. PY151, PO60. Okay, well, anyways. And they've got all of the listings on what all of this is down here. That doesn't take the place of my card where everything's listed, but it's all there. Okay, anyway, but enough of that. Did Irish whiskey on soft pastel. That's funny. Let's get back to some painting here. I'm going to look at, let's see, I'm going to paint a little bit here. We're going to give this one that's in front here a little dimension now. I don't want to get this one as dark as the one in back. I don't want them to meld together. So we've got to be a little careful where I do that. Where I start to darken this one up at. I'll do it right up here. There we go. That doesn't look too bad. Now, normally, maybe not normally. That's not a great thing to say. Oftentimes, people like to use of course, a bluish color to denote something that's in shadow or a bit darker than another thing. But with yellow, of course, if you put blue in there, you're going to get nothing but green or some semblance thereof. And we don't really want anything to be green here. Not painting green habaneros. So I'm just using this picture as a guide, and it's very nice in that you can see right from in this area. I guess I haven't looked. Is this still on the screen? Yeah, okay, let me move that over a little bit. Right in this area down here, everything is very nice and red-ish, if that's a way that you can say something. It's very nice and red-ish. And that's a way with yellows to connote something that's in just a bit more of a shadow or darkened, recessed area than using a blue is. The blue, like I said, just really makes a green, and it doesn't end up looking quite right. So if I'm painting on a yellow, I do, and I'm not doing anything that has a green tint to it, I try to stay well away from blues. Let's see, I've got some I think this is looking okay. Got a darkish spot right there. Actually, as I'm looking at these, I like these orange ones. Orange pepper's much better than I like this red pepper. I'm going to take care of that right now. I'm going to take some of this alizarin crimson, and I'm going to add just a bit of neutral tint, which is a purpley neutral. And I'm hoping that that is going to add just enough body to this without allowing it to get too dark in there. I thought that was dry. Looks like it might be just a bit damp yet. Might have been just a bit early on some of that. Well, that's just about it's just about the value that I wanted it to be. Just that little bit darker. I'm a little bit behind on your streamer. Just watch you get your sheet out. Wow, I love trying M-gram, but too expensive in the UK. Yeah, M-grams are not cheap paints. That is for certain. But oh no. But they are lovely paints. They are fantastic. Super highly pigmented paints. A little of these goes a very long way. Of course, if you're over in the UK, I would imagine that many people use Winsor Newton over there. Or maybe a French. Oh, you got all kinds of stuff. You got French Sennelier. You've got, let's see, Old Holland over there. You've got the Da Vinci stuff from Germany. you've got all kinds of choices over there. Well, not that we're starved for choices on this side of the pond, but you got some great choices over there. I don't know how expensive any of those brands are over in the UK. Over here, those are all quite expensive. You like Mr. Cite, you like Sennelier, but they are not cheap. They are not cheap. I have to say, Sennelier are probably the one brand I have never tried because they are expensive. I've got Daniel Smith. I've got, well, of course, M. Graham, which I very much like. Lots of Winsor Newton. I think I have an Old Holland. I've got Da Vinci or Rembrandt. Lots of different ones, but I don't think I have any Sennelier. Sennelier uses honey for its binder. They very well may. There are. I thought that M. Graham was one of the only ones that used honey as a binding agent. But Sennelier may. I read that Daniel Smith uses it, not as a binder necessarily, but as a re-wetting agent, as their binder is gum arabic, but the honey allows things to be re-wet very quickly, which is why for some brands of paints, like the M. Grahams, and I guess for the Sennelier, when they dry out and you touch them, it's almost an immediate color coming off of what you've touched. And some other brands, like Winsor Newton, doesn't use honey in their pigments, and they re-wet a little bit more slowly. You know, neither is right, neither is wrong. It's just how those companies decided to do that. Mission Gold also uses, I read that they also use a little bit of honey, maybe not as much as others, but they use a bit of honey in their paints also, and so they, I would be willing to bet, re-wet very easily. But even so, the health benefits of the honey in the paint don't offset the toxins that are possibly there, so don't think that that gives you the right to go ahead and start eating your paintings or licking them like I did, because it doesn't. I didn't realize we were going to have a whole discussion on paint. This is great. I love it. But it sounds like everybody out there, I use Sennelier, honey keeps them moist and they re-wet really well. See, there you go. So I can't get the M. Graham. You can't get the M. Grahams in Australia. That's disappointing. If I could, I'd call them up and say, hey, ship some there. And get them there relatively inexpensively. I wish I could do that. I wish everybody could use these to see what they're like. They're so highly pigmented, and they re-wet so quickly and easily. But I suppose, if I really think about it, probably all of the higher end watercolors act pretty similarly. I would bet that they do. Let's see, I need to look down here. I'm looking down here. How do I want to do this? I could go like that. I'll give this guy a run up there and over here. Something like that. And I'm going to blend these out just a little bit here. I don't want that. I don't really want too hard of an edge there. It's funny who can get what watercolors where and for how much. I used to ride the bus to work every day. I no longer do that, but when I did, I would watch what's his name? Teo something. If you watch a whole lot of YouTube, you've probably seen Teo's videos. He runs the website Parka Blogs. He's in Malaysia, I believe, and he does some really interesting things. But one thing that I really like that he does is he does a lot of reviews of different kinds of paints and paint brushes and all kinds of stuff like that. And I used to listen to what he would say about them, and he'd go, "Oh, these are really cheap. We get them, I just go down and get them at the store here." And I'd go down to my local art store, and the same paints that he would get for a few dollars a tube were always super expensive for me. But luckily for me, and this is one thing that I have going for me that probably not everybody does, and I say probably knowing that the answer is absolutely not everybody does, is I happen to work at a university, and our bookstore used to get art supplies very cheaply, and that's how I started to get all of my M-gram paints, was through my bookstore at the university that I work at. And if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't be using these M-gram paints. I'd probably be using something else. But oh, you love the bus people. I did. Yeah, the bus people were fun. If anybody doesn't know or hasn't seen the videos, from time to time I would just sit on the bus and draw the people as I saw them, and then I'd get to work some days and I'd paint them on my lunch hour, or I would wait and I'd come home and I would paint them, and it was a lot of fun. But really, I like driving better. I shouldn't say that too loud. I'm not ashamed of it. I love driving. Driving, I think, is a lot of fun. Every day, I'm glad I can drive to work. And if you're worried that I'm polluting too much, don't worry too much. I have an electric car that gets me to and from work, so I don't do too much damage to the environment, if that was going to be a concern of anybody's. But I've always liked driving from the time I grew up, driving a tractor around the yard until today. I drove my children into town to go to the store, and I had a great time driving my car. Okay, let's see. I've got some stems to do here, and since I'm here, I need to start thinking about what we're going to do for a shadow or a background on here. And this is as good a time as any. They're cheap compared to UK. Okay, thank you. Okay, good. You guys are talking about how to get better paints on there. That's great. I'm going to let you guys talk about it because I don't know anything about buying anything in Great Britain or Australia. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat on my background. I like a white background. I don't know if I've mentioned it on here before. I have a coworker who really doesn't like having a white background. He says you've got to cover everything up and just fill in all the space. If you don't do that, it's not a finished piece. And I always say, phooey, there's no truth to that whatsoever. I very much like seeing a white background, simple white background. Let's see, I'm looking at these colors. I'm trying to see in here, move this over just a little bit, what my lightest green in any of these are. And what I think I'm seeing from my palette here is what I have is azo green. It's azo green in the M gram set. If you are a Daniel Smith user, it is green gold. I believe it's the same pigment, just a different name, mixed with just a bit of this M gram olive green. And that's going to allow me to get a couple of highlights on here, but still get the right color. And we're going to go back over these with a little bit darker anyways in just a second. Excuse me while I flip this over so I can do this easily. There we go. When I started painting, not when I started painting, no. When I started painting on YouTube, that's a better way to say this. When I started painting on YouTube, I would just grab my painting and turn it whichever way, however I wanted to make it easier to paint, just like I'm doing now. And then I found the speed up button on my computer to make videos, and it wasn't long until a few viewers said, "Oh my Lord, you can't do that fast. We can't see anything on your videos, and you're turning your page all around, and it's making everybody sick. Can you please not do that?" And I kind of stopped doing it. And to tell you the truth, I wish I hadn't, not because I didn't want anybody to see, but because I tried for a year or so to really not turn my page while I was painting it. It made things, believe it or not, a little difficult. So now when I do this, I don't worry about it quite so much. If I feel like I need to turn the painting, I'll just let you know. I'll do it a little bit slowly, but I'm just going to do it anyway. Probably I wasn't quite as confident in what I was doing then, so I might have let it bother me just a little bit more than it needed to. I'm trying to get just inside these lines here. I think I've pretty much got it. And there's quite a bit of this. There's not a stem. This little bit around the stem isn't the stem, is it? Whatever this leafy part is around the stem. I'm gonna get around that. This painting is, oh, thank you. I'm a page turner too. All right, Mr. C. Tate, got my back. We page turners have to stick together. No, it's just, you know, it's one of those things. It for a lot of what you do, it makes it easier. It's unfortunate that sometimes, you know, it makes it a little bit more difficult to view But boy, does it make it a lot easier to paint from time to time when you can turn that page and not be afraid to do that. Let's see, this is a little blotchy here. I'm just going to blend this ever so slightly. I'm not going to get all of that out. And I don't want to leave a big blob there. That looks better to me. I'm going to come back with a very small brush. Wow, it was a 0. I'm going to use a 1. I never realized I had a 0 or a 1. Who else? Kiyomi is a page turner too. That's great. Everybody needs to. It's hard not to. It really is hard not to. I'm going to come in with just, I hope this is going to work. I haven't tried this out. Just a bit of my dark color here, my shadow color. I don't even know if you guys will be able to see this. And I'm just going to put this directly underneath the bottom of these, like that. Maybe you can't even see that. Maybe this is one of those additions that doesn't need to be there. I thought maybe it would add a little bit something, but I don't want to put a really darker color on there. Let's see, I'm going to go back to my larger. I did the whole thing with this bigger brush. Oh, good. Okay, so the two larger ones, this came as a set, I should say. These Da Vinci brushes. They're actually pretty nice. I like them. But the two larger ones, obviously, I've used quite a bit, and I've worn the numbers off of them, so I can't even tell you what number they are. Okay, I'm going to mix up a little bit of neutral tint over here. Oops, there it is. I hope you can see that. And into that, let's see if I can just put just a little bit of this yellow in there so that when we want to get this pretty soupy, so that when we do this, that yellow does kind of show. As kind of a reflection off of that pepper, and then back in here. There we go. I want this more just of the neutral tint back here. And then a bit more of this yellowish. As we come out this way. A little bit out here like that. I'm going to make that curve back in there. Something's going on outside in my garage. I might have a visitor soon. Could be a child. Could be some other kind of animal. Hello? Hello? Oh, it's a person. You're on the video.
Oh, great.
Come on in. Let's see. Page Turners, hashtag Page Turners United. My daughter is here. What do you think?
Looks good.
It looks good? Okay. That's good. Let's see. Michael, I've seen other watercolor painters use that white gouache for highlights. I prefer lifting out. What are your thoughts on white gouache? Let me just finish this here, Mr. C. Tate, and I will get to that in just a second. Whoops. I need to drop down to, I think, this size brush. Are you out of here?
Yeah.
Okay. Bye. My thoughts on white gouache are this. I don't have a problem with it. I used to think that it was not a good idea, something maybe we shouldn't do as watercolorists, and I wanted to be a purist, but the more I think about it, the more I have to say it doesn't bother me in the least. In fact, I have used white gouache on a number of paintings recently. I don't have any, I will admit, in this set of paints. I have no white from M. Graham, but I do in my Holbein set of paints. And if you have seen on Instagram, let's see, I used maybe I used white gouache on the koi that I painted, maybe. That's possible. But I don't have a problem with it. You have probably seen I've used this before, and I've used this before, both to put highlights on. Save the whites initially with negative painting. Yeah, saving the whites is great. It's hard to do. And for me, a lot of the times, white is too white. As I look at this picture, right, this is why I put one layer on this red pepper first. This white on my picture and white on fruit in real life. Let's see. This isn't, obviously, this isn't real. This is a plastic gourd. But the white on here isn't even white. The white on here is a reflected color, or it's a very light version of the color that's underneath it. Having said that, and that's why I did this, I put a wash down first and then painted dark everything around it. Having said that, in small instances, there are places where you do want white to go. I have found that this is extremely handy, and this does fine lines and really stark ones. This is a general scribe all white pencil, or just a regular white pastel pencil, or a pastel, or whatever. Makes it more of a diffuse mark on there. But with this still, you see a little bit of color behind it. And here's the real reason why I don't have a problem with white gouache or white watercolors. In the olden times, when people had to leave white space in order to leave white on their painting, it was because the white that they had was terrible. The whites that we have today are fantastic, and because they're fantastic, we should take advantage of them. And if those great masters from times past could have used white, then they would have used white. And in fact, John Singer Sargent, one of the greatest watercolor painters of all times, used white in many of his paintings. He would really layer it on there because he knew he had to have a certain effect, and he wasn't going to be able to do that with just leaving the white space there. So for a while, I initially had a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it anymore. I'm fine. If you need to use white, go ahead and use white. Okay, so that's about all I have. Do we have any other questions? I do paint in traditional gouache, but full paintings, very underestimated medium gouache. I've never used gouache. I see many purists yeah, people criticize it because that's not what they used to do in olden days. But the only reason they didn't do it in olden days is because it was terrible. Okay, so. I have a question for everybody. I've got some paintings drawn up potentially for next week. I was thinking about doing either a popsicle or some watermelon. What do you think? Let me know what you guys might like to see, and we'll get on with that. Number one rule, don't listen to the rules. Yeah, it's usually an issue with shows sponsored by Old Line Watercolor Society. That's right. It's only the old timers that have a problem with using white in watercolors, and it's only because it used to be so bad that nobody could use it. It made no difference whether you used it on your paintings or not because it was so bad. But like I say, today, more and more, our white gouache and white watercolors, for that matter, are so much better that we can use them, and I really have no issue with anybody using white if they want to. It should never be an issue. I'm just playing at this point. Great job. Give me both two watermelons, popsicles, and video. Well, they're both going to be videos at some point. All it's going to be is whether I do one live and whether I do one in the studio with just me here and nobody else. Okay, See, at this point, I think at this time it's just futzing with it, and probably I shouldn't do that, or I'll make it worse. I'm going to use watercolors. Okay, let's see. Watermelon. We got one vote for the watermelon. I kind of like the watermelon. I kind of like the... I don't know. I'll decide. Anyways, I think that's going to be it for me today. Where am I at? I'm right at 1 hour. So thank you all for stopping by. I appreciate you getting here and seeing. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I do post things on Instagram and Twitter. I've got an Etsy store. I've got some things for sale up there. No futzing. I'm the king of futzing with stuff. That's about all I have to say. Again, thank you all for coming to the studio tonight. Really enjoyed painting with you. Another vote for a vote for popsicle and watermelon. That's gonna make it tough. Yeah, I like both. Okay, anyways, we'll figure it out later. Thank you so much for stopping by. We'll see you all later. Bye-bye.